Have you ever stood in your kitchen staring at a pan that's just started to heat up and wondered whether you should reach for butter or oil? It feels like a small choice, almost automatic, but it's one of those everyday decisions that quietly shapes how food tastes, smells, and even how it affects your body. Butter and oil are both cooking fats, yet they behave very differently once they hit the heat. So which one is actually better for cooking? The honest answer is, it depends. And today, we're breaking down why, right here on History of Simple Things. Let's start with butter, because it's often the emotional favorite. Butter smells like comfort. It reminds people of home-cooked meals, fresh bread, and sizzling pans on a lazy morning. Butter is made from churned cream, which means it's mostly milk fat, but it also contains water and milk solids. Those extra components are exactly why butter tastes so rich, and also why it can be tricky to cook with at high heat. When you melt butter in a pan, you might notice it foams, then turns golden, and eventually starts to brown. That's the milk solids cooking. This browning creates a nutty, complex flavor that many people love. It's the reason butter makes scrambled eggs taste luxurious and vegetables feel indulgent. But here's the catch. Those milk solids burn relatively quickly. Once butter starts smoking, it can go from flavorful to bitter in a matter of seconds. This brings us to smoke point, the temperature at which a fat starts to break down and produce smoke. Regular butter has a fairly low smoke point compared to most oils. That makes it less ideal for high-heat cooking methods like stir-frying or searing meat. If you try to cook a steak in regular butter over high heat, you'll probably end up with a smoky kitchen and a pan full of burnt bits. That doesn't mean butter is bad for cooking. It just means it shines in certain situations. Low to medium heat cooking is where butter really excels. Think sautéed vegetables, gentle pan frying, baking, and finishing dishes for flavor. Butter is also unmatched when it comes to baking. Its solid structure and water content help create flaky pastries, tender cakes, and cookies with that classic melt-in-your-mouth texture. Oil simply can't replicate that in most traditional recipes. Now let's talk about oil. Cooking oils come from plants, seeds, nuts, fruits, and because of that, they vary a lot in flavor, color, and behavior. Olive oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, each one has its own personality. But in general, oils are pure fat, with little to no water or milk solids. That single difference already makes them more heat-stable than butter. Because oils don't contain milk solids, most of them have higher smoke points. This makes them better suited for high-heat cooking methods like frying, grilling, roasting, and searing. If you want a crisp crust on meat or golden edges on vegetables, oil is usually the safer choice. It can handle the heat without burning as easily, which means cleaner flavors and fewer bitter notes. Flavor-wise, oil is more flexible than people often realize. Some oils, like extra virgin olive oil, bring a distinct taste that can enhance salads, pasta, and vegetables. Others, like canola or vegetable oil, are neutral, letting the ingredients shine without interference. This makes oil especially useful when you don't want the cooking fat to dominate the dish. From a health perspective, butter and oil are often pitted against each other, and this is where things get confusing. Butter is high in saturated fat, which for years was blamed for heart problems. Oils, especially plant-based ones, are higher in unsaturated fats, which are generally considered better for heart health. But modern nutrition science is more nuanced than a simple butter bad, oil good narrative. Butter does contain saturated fat, but it also has fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. It's not a health villain on its own, it just shouldn't be used excessively. Oils, on the other hand, vary widely. Olive oil is rich in monounsaturated fats and antioxidants, making it one of the most praised cooking fats in the world. Highly refined seed oils are more processed and don't always offer the same benefits. Another factor people often overlook is how fats change when heated. Even a healthy oil can become less beneficial if overheated repeatedly. Reusing oil at very high temperatures can cause it to break down and form unwanted compounds. Butter burns faster, but oil can degrade too if mistreated. Proper heat control matters just as much as the fat you choose. So instead of asking which one is better, a more useful question is, better for what? If you're cooking eggs, pancakes, or gently sautéing vegetables, butter adds flavor that oil simply can't match. If you're roasting potatoes, stir-frying, or searing meat, oil gives you stability and control. Many professional cooks actually use both at the same time, starting with oil for heat resistance, then adding butter at the end for flavor. Cost and accessibility can also influence the choice. Butter is often more expensive and requires refrigeration. Oils are shelf-stable and usually cheaper for everyday cooking. In many kitchens around the world, oil is the default simply because it's practical and versatile. Butter becomes a special ingredient, used intentionally rather than constantly. At the end of the day, butter and oil aren't enemies competing for the same job. They're tools, each designed for different tasks. Butter brings comfort, aroma, and depth. Oil brings strength, versatility, and resilience under heat. Knowing when to use each one gives you more control in the kitchen and better results on the plate. So the next time you're standing in front of the stove, wondering which one to use, don't think in terms of right or wrong. Think about heat, flavor, and purpose. Cooking isn't about choosing sides, it's about choosing what works best for the moment. And when you understand that, both butter and oil earn their place in your kitchen. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.